Diane Stacy has worked both in Women Against Hunger at the food bank and now manages a farm out in Warren, Rhode Island, and is working in cohorts with Four Town Farm. And Diane has dealt with a question that you'll have to deal with, which is labor. How do you get people? Are you going to work your farm? Are you going to get help working your farm? And how do you get people to either be part of your farm as a CSA, part of your farm as actually harvesters and weeders and workers like Diane does, which is the ultimate challenge. And you can actually, designate one of your fields or mobile fields, because they are mobile fields at Snake Den, as a food bank farm field. We don't have presenters except for Pia Peterson at the end for Farm Fresh Rhode Island, who will be talking about other avenues of getting your food from your farm to schools, to restaurants, and their website shows you that broad spectrum of consumers of your produce, of your whatever you're growing on your farm. Okay? So you have to have an economic model, a plan that's part of your oral presentation, and we'll be including questions about that, especially about Rhode Island specific consumers. But Dan's going to talk specifically about McCoy Community Farm and the food bank program that she runs.
I am a fill-in speaker, and this is not something that I normally do, so bear with me. But I was glad that I came a little bit earlier to kind of hear your project, and I did read your problem. And you have a really interesting problem to solve. And besides being a farm manager, my profession is actually a quality systems consultant. And I deal with problems every day. And a tool that a lot of us use is asking those 5 whys. Just keep asking and, why, until you really get to what the root of what you're trying to solve is. And so the interesting thing is, through Women Ending Hunger, I've been a member for about 9 years. And each year we have several different meetings. And about 3 years ago, the CEO of the food bank presented at our Women Ending Hunger meeting and addressed us with a really serious problem that was starting to develop. And they had their set programs, and they were, supplying food to like 178 agencies throughout Rhode Island, which is quite a large number for a small state. But what was happening is, as people were losing jobs, there was more of a demand for people needing food assistance. And at the same time, the food industry was getting more efficient, and so they didn't have as much food to donate. So now they had more people who were looking for food, and they just didn't have the sources. And of course, the financial donation was going down also because people were out of jobs. So I'm sitting listening to this meeting, and I'm thinking, okay, here's this problem. And at the meeting, they were presenting that we have to come up with a different strategic plan, because what we are currently doing is not supporting our new needs. And this was 3 years ago. So after the meeting, I approached the CEO, which was Andrew Shift, and I said, I'm sitting here listening, and the solution is we need people to donate land. And then, the cost of seeds is so small, and how much crop we can grow. A little packet of seeds, you can get like 275 to maybe sometimes 1,000 seeds in, just a little small packet for like $3 or $4. Right. Yes. So I had proposed to him, and my experience on farming was just my little home garden. And, the first year I was really successful with my husband. And then over the years, I don't think we really understood how to manage the soil, because each year our yields wasn't getting as well. But So I approached him and I said, I think one of your big focuses is, we've got to go and find these people who want to donate property. So every time I had met him, I said, hey, is anybody out there looking to donate land? Well, last year, at the end of March, or just probably a little bit prior to that, this doctor who lives in Barrington, Rhode Island, approached the food bank, and I guess he was a financial supporter for many years, and he said, I would like to donate an acre of property to grow strictly for the food bank, and his idea was that it was on the East Bay side of Rhode Island, and he wanted to support that area because he's from that area, and we also wanted to look at not spending a lot of money on transportation because the main food bank is located in Providence. They're the hub, and then from there they go and distribute to those basically 178 agencies. But we wanted to minimize the cost and the footprint and everything. So they set up a meeting last year in the end of March, and I met with, let me just make sure when I have to do my slide. This is the picture of the farm. This area right there is the land. And so we met there, and it was, kind of a wet, damp area. And I met with Dr. McCoy, who is the owner of the property. There's a professional farmer who is Chris Clegg, who is the owner of Four Town Farms, and he actually leases land from Dr. McCoy besides his other property that he has. And then the person from the food bank, which is the procurement manager, which is Ferris Maxwell. And we sat there and we looked at the property, kind of discussed the plan. Now they knew that I was inexperienced, but I was eager. And so at first the person from the food bank said, why don't we give Diane a year, let her apprentice with other people. We can kind of do that, design and work everything out. Well, the doctor had different plans, and he said, nope, I want to start now. I'm eager, there's a need out there. We've got to go now. So he had given us an acre of land, and we had decided to use about 1/3 of the acre, but we were only going to plant 3 rows. And at first we had talked about 2 or 3 plants, something manageable, because I didn't have any volunteers at this time. I had approached them and it was me. Yes, yeah. Considering I had like 4 little, raised beds in my backyard, and I only have 1/4 of an acre of land in my house, but most of my property is taken up by my home and my shed. So as we were discussing, there was some crop that I wanted to grow. I felt that if we're going to grow some things, it has to be really nutritious. And kale is one of the foods that I wanted to grow. I knew that it had some challenges on transporting because, it wilts fast, and a lot of the food pantries don't have refrigeration. So, the logistics, but I still felt that it was important to grow something that was so nutritious, because these people have limited amount of money. Let's give them the best and the most nutrition, for that. So when we started out with 2 or 3 crops, we ended up with a lot more, just because it was like you just kind of get that ideas going, oh, okay, we got to do eggplant, and we got to do peppers and cucumbers and tomatoes, and then, my kale had to fit in. And so we had decided that it was going to be, just 3 rows of it. So 5. 5. We started and said, okay, we want to start small, to manage it, but, it just kind of grew. And one of the luxuries for me is the technical experience came from the farmer. He knew the land. He had been farming that land. Well, maybe not that particular plot of land, but he has property aside and he plants, lots of different things. And that year he planted winter squash. So he knew what was really good to grow in that area.